Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you about frequently asked questions about passing a road test. That's what we're going to talk about today. Give you some answers for your questions and help you to be successful on your road test first time. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about frequently asked questions on your road test. Now, if you're tuning in to Smart Drive Test here for the live stream here, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Be sure to give it a like. And if you're new to Smart Drive Test and haven't been here before, Smart Drive Test helps new drivers get a license, veteran drivers to remain crash-free, and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. So consider subscribing as well. Hit that bell. That way you'll get instant notification when we get the videos up for you. So Kangaroo Trucker is here, and God Blessing is here, and if you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning from in the world, and as well let us know what class of license that you're working towards. And yes, I'm looking around here because I don't think that I plugged. Yes, I did plug it in. I'm just checking the the cord on the back of the computer, because to get better internet access, I have to have it hardwired into my modem as opposed to just using the wireless internet. It doesn't work as well. So Edwin is here. I've been doing more driving and way more comfortable with my skills. That's excellent. Hassan, can I get got my driver's license with tourism? Not following that, Hassan. What are you asking me exactly? Okay, Edwin is in Shreveport, Louisiana. Excellent. And Connor, I got my driving test in Chilliwack on Thursday. Any tips for me? Yes, Connor, we definitely have tips for you to be successful on passing your road test, so stick around for that. Jaden is here from Florida. Not because I have really bad sunburn on my legs. Oh, that's unfortunate. Kangaroo Trucker, CDL Class A for over the road. Excellent. And Charlie's here from Savannah, Georgia. So a number of people tuning in here, and as I said, just let us know what class of license you're going for. And Bricks for Wheels, that's Corey. Corey is the moderator. Corey makes everything run smoothly, gets the videos up that I suggest, and keeps out the bad people on the live stream for us. So Corey's here from Winterpeg. How cold is it in Winnipeg, Manitoba there, Corey? Because I know that it has just been brutally cold on the prairies this week in the minus 30 degrees Celsius, which is, I don't know, 0, minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll just check here on my, let's see, minus 38, minus 35 is minus 31 degrees Fahrenheit. So it has been brutally cold in the Midwest and on the prairies. So lots of people tuning in now. So Krista is here. Hello from the north. Double G Man is from Fort Worth, Texas. Africa, that's great. Martins is here from Africa. Kamloops trying to get my N. Kangaroo Trucker is in Phoenix, Arizona. So we've got lots of people. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. And Sam from the Bronx there in New York City is tuning in. Sam is a driving instructor with Rookie Auto Driving School. So if you're there in New York, look Sam up, and Sam will be able to help you out with getting a license. And the other thing that I recommend for anybody who's not taking driving lessons and working towards preparing a license, be sure that you book a practice driving test with a local driving school 7 to 10 days before your actual driving test. And there with Sam in the Bronx at the Rookie Auto Driving School, you can pick one of those up for about $20. So it's money really well invested if you're not actually taking driving lessons. So do that as well, okay? Jerry is tuning in from Quebec City. Excellent. Corey's saying that we had a spell of feels like minus 50 degrees Celsius with the wind chill last week for a few days. The van was not happy starting up. No, and a lot of vehicles aren't. And actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about that because we've had a lot of activity both on the cold weather starting video and the idling will get you nowhere videos, and Corey will put those up for you as well. Hassan, I have a visa for tourism. Okay, Hassan, I don't think that you can. You would have to check with immigration, but I think that you have to be a permanent resident of the country in order to apply for a driver's license. So I think the first stop that you would have to make would be with the immigration office of the country that you're in to see whether you can get a driver's license or not. All right. Hassan is from Belgium. Boston, what is the test to take off your N in BC? To go from an N to a full Class 5 license in the province of British Columbia, you have to take a road test, okay? Flying Squirrel, Mike, Winchester, getting ready for the snow, sleet, and storm coming. Yes, and in Winchester, Virginia, that would be quite, they would basically shut down the province there for that kind of weather coming. And Frederick is in Denmark. Excellent. So Corey's got the video up there for you, which is kind of interesting because that idling gets you nowhere video hasn't had any traffic, and then this week I had 3 or 4 comments on it, which was rather interesting. But what we're going to do here is we're going to head over to the PowerPoint presentation. I will do that, and here, just bear with me for 1 sec. Just getting up to the top here. I get everything else done, and then I don't get that done. So, and there's the cold start weather, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and just give you a bit more information that I've gleaned in answering the questions about starting your vehicle in the cold and taking off and those types of things. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over to the PowerPoint presentation and go through that. It's not very long this week, and then we'll come back and we'll answer any questions that you have. So basically what we're doing this week is frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions, so lots of questions that I get over and over again when I'm answering people's questions about road tests and on the comments on the YouTube channel here and those types of things, so we're going to go through that. As I said, for those of you who are new to Smart Drive Test, Smart Drive Test helps new drivers get a license, veteran drivers to remain crash-free, and CDL drivers to start a career as a truck or bus driver. So my name is Rick August. I do have a PhD. Through most of the 1990s, I was a truck driver delivering LTL freight up and down the eastern seaboard of the United States, in and out of Canada and the United States. So from Canada into the States, and then the States back into Canada. And LTL stands for less than load. It just means that you got 5 or 10 drops on a trailer. I moved to Australia in the early 2000s. I was a driver for Greyhound and for one of the regional bus lines there. I became a licensed commercial driving instructor in 1997 with an expertise in air brakes, and I have the air brake book, Air Brakes Explained Simply, over at the website that's available. And in 2006 I was awarded a doctorate in history from the University of Melbourne, and it's in legal history, which is a study of policing, courts, and prisons. And my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic, oddly enough. So I just keep learning more and more about traffic, and especially here on the YouTube channel, and answering people's questions about cold starts and frosty windows and those types of things. I just keep learning every day. So if you've passed a road test in the last couple of weeks and haven't registered on the Smart Drive Test 100K campaign, we'd love to help you do that as well. And as well, you'll be entered in a draw for a $100 fuel card. So head over there. Corey will put up the link for you for that as well. All right, so requirements of the road tests. Some people are unaware of some of the maneuvers that they're required for the purposes of the road test, and then they're kind of caught out when they don't know what those are. The 3 staples of any road test are going to be parallel park, 3-point turn, and reverse stall parking. You're almost always going to be asked to do those 3 maneuvers. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. Parallel park, 3-point turn, reverse stall parking. You're going to be asked to do those. Now, some other places in the world you're going to be asked to do U-turns, 2-point reverse turns, and you could be asked to do a forward reverse turn, or not, sorry, a forward parallel park, which I know they do in Dubai. The other requirement of a test in Dubai is to go over big speed bumps, so you have to do that as well, and it's fairly challenging in Dubai. My understanding from people that have been on the channel from Dubai and talking about the road test, it's almost as difficult as it is getting one in Germany. So those 2 countries tend to be the most challenging countries in the world to get a road test. So those are the maneuvers that you're required for a road test. Parallel parking, a lot of students ask me if they're going to fail if they hit the curb. If you do hit the curb, as you in this picture here, and run over the car behind you, yes, you are going to fail. If you nudge the curb and you feel that you've nudged the curb and then you move ahead and adjust the vehicle, no, you're not going to fail for that. But if the body of the vehicle rocks over the chassis, then yes, you are going to fail for that. So know that it's about you having due care and control and knowing where your vehicle is in space and place. And then ideally you want to be 6 to 12 inches from the curb when you're finished parking, or 15 to 20 centimeters. Some, as I mentioned in previous live streams, some people have indicated to me that their state no longer does parallel parking. That's simply not true. It is one of the bases of any road test anywhere in the world that you're going to have to do parallel parking. Shoulder checking, you must absolutely do shoulder checking. One of the questions people ask me is that the vehicle tends to drift when they do their head check or their shoulder check when they're looking left or right. And the reason that happens is because your head check is too slow, and the vehicle will go where you're looking. So if you're too slow looking left or right, the vehicle is going to tend to drift in that direction. So essentially what you need to do is you need to move your head faster. Okay, and you need to do shoulder checks, head checks every time you move the vehicle sideways, every time you turn, and any time that you move the vehicle laterally, you have to shoulder check. And if you're in doubt, shoulder check and make sure there aren't any traffic coming up. And some people will ask me, well, why do we have to shoulder check left? And there's a video here, Corey will get that up for you as well. You have to shoulder check left to be looking for other road users, people on bicycles, people on scooters, those types of things. So make sure that you get in the habit of shoulder checking left as well. And interestingly enough, if Vinny shows up, here's the story for him. I asked that very question when I was doing my instructor's license, and not the next day I was turning left into the hospital in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and a taxi cab cut off on the inside when I made a shoulder check and looked. And fortunately I saw the taxi cab before I ran into him, but it's imperative that you shoulder check when you're turning left. I've had a question about left foot braking. No, you cannot left foot brake if you're going for a road test. You must use your right foot for the throttle and the brake. And if you're obviously driving a manual transmission, you're going to use your left foot for the clutch. But that's the only pedal that you're allowed to use the left foot for the purposes of passing a road test. Lots of questions around speed limits, and this is one aspect of your road test that you do have to practice, and you have to practice it over and over again, because it's difficult to do the speed limit when the rest of the traffic on the roadway is doing the traffic flow, which is going to be 5 to 10 miles an hour faster than the posted speed limit, or 5 to 10 kilometers an hour faster than the posted speed limit. So you have to practice this for the purposes of your road test. And if you watch my mock road test video, which Corey will put up, I had to reshoot part of it because what happened was I was talking to the camera, I was following the traffic flow, and I was going downhill, and I started speeding, and I sped too long than what's allowed. And if you go over the speed limit, it's not an instant fail. It's a matter of whether you get the vehicle back under control again within a short period of time, and that's what they're looking for, that you are able to adapt to changing driving conditions as you're driving and adjust your speed all of the time. So for the purposes of the road test, posted speed limit, flow of traffic, whichever is less, that's the speed that you drive. And if the road conditions, so say there's a lot of parked cars, there's a lot of pedestrians around, you're in a congested area, you can drive slower. Or there's a lot of snow and the weather conditions are not ideal, then you can drive slower. But for the most part, you want to do the posted speed limit, and you want to get the vehicle up to the posted speed limit as quickly as possible for the purposes of the road test. There's a bunch of myths around driving tests. There's a pass quota. No, there's not a pass quota. No parallel parking, I already addressed that. 2-point turn, speed limits. Yes, you do have to do the speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less, just to reiterate what I just said. Driving laws are different in my state and province. There are some minor nuances between driving laws in provinces and states, but for the most part, driving is driving, and all of the rules and techniques, skills, and abilities that I show you here on the channel are going to work for your state. And again, we come back to doing a practice driving test. Local driving instructors will be able to give you all of the nuances for the driving test where you're going to do it as well. They will take you on the test route in and around the test center. They know what it is, and they will get you to practice in and around the test center. Will I fail if I hit the curb on a parallel park? I already talked about that, so I'm not going to go over that again. Okay, you won't fail if you nudge the curb, but if you hit the curb or push the wheel over the curb, then yes, you're going to fail. Okay, turn on a red light. If you are not comfortable turning on a red light for the purposes of a road test, you can wait for the green. Yes, you can. All right, if it has one of these signs that says no turn on red light, that's an automatic fail on a road test because you've turned contrary to the sign. So wait for the green light, otherwise you can turn on the red light as long as there isn't a sign saying that you can. And yes, unfortunately, sometimes good drivers fail a road test because something that they didn't anticipate happened and they couldn't deal with it, or sometimes everything goes right and bad drivers fail a road test. So that happens too for the purposes of a road test. All right, for those of us that drive on the right side of the road in the world, make sure that you drive in the right lane for the purposes of the road test. If there's 3 lanes, you can drive in the middle lane. That's the better choice, because the right lane in 3 lanes or more is all going to be turning traffic, so you don't want to get stuck in that lane because it's not optimum for driving, for following the flow of traffic. All right. If you're driving on the left side of the road, then you want to drive in the left side of the lane, okay? If there are obstacles and you're in that right lane, you're going to have to move around those obstacles, especially if you have to go over the center lane into the other lane. And Corey will put up the video for you how to change lanes around obstacles, and that's important that you do that correctly, okay? You must master the basic skills and be prepared for the opportunity. Again, I come back to this practice, practice, practice. In preparation for your road test and learning how to drive. Get as much practice as possible. Practice in different vehicles. Practice in different environments, different weather conditions, rain, snow, on highways, on gravel roads, on dirt logging roads, wherever you can get practice in different vehicles with different people. All of that is going to make you more comfortable, more competent when you come to your road test. Unfortunately, we no longer live in, most of us don't live on farms anymore. 25, 30 years ago, most of us used to live on farms. We grew up driving tractors and those types of things. So by the time we came to our driver's license, most of us already been driving for 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. Most people who come to driving now have never been behind the wheel of a vehicle whatsoever. So somebody asked me there in the prologue what they need to do for the purposes of the road test. So quickly, we'll go over this. The 4 components of any road test anywhere in the world, any class of license, are all the same. Speed management, space management, observation, and communication. So speed management, we've talked about this, posted speed limit, flow of traffic. And yes, if it's congested or the conditions are not ideal, then you can drive slower. Space management, you need to have a following distance of 2 to 3 seconds. You need to stop at the correct stopping position at stop signed intersections, before the stop line, before the crosswalk or sidewalk. And if those 2 conditions don't exist, then where the 2 roads meet. You have to stop in traffic so that you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement. Do not block intersections. And if you are turning at an intersection, you need 1 lane of space, 1 lane of buffer between you and pedestrians. If they're going away from you, if they're coming towards you, you're going to need more than that. All right. Observation, you need to observe and have a scanning pattern in place when you're driving straight down the road. So far down the road, in check the center mirror. Far down the road, in check the instrument panel. Far down the road, in check the wing mirrors. Far down the road, check both shoulders, and continue that every 8 to 10 seconds. 360-degree scan every time you back up or do a slow speed maneuver. Before you execute the slow speed maneuver, when you're backing up, you need to look out the back windows, and if for every vehicle length stop, do another 360-degree scan, and then continue looking out the back window and backing up. You need to shoulder check 2 times for every time you turn or any time you move the vehicle laterally. And then finally, you have to communicate effectively with other road users on the roadway. So you do that via lights, horns, signals, eye contact. If you have a pedestrian, you're not sure what they're doing, you get eye contact with them. Hand signals, hand gestures, all 5 fingers. Do not wave somebody through for the purposes of a road test, but if somebody's not certain, then you can, wave them through. And then finally, the position of your vehicle on the roadway is going to indicate to other traffic and road users what you're doing. So you have to communicate with other road users effectively, all right? Abilities for a road test: 2 hands on a steering wheel, stopping in traffic, stopping in the correct position at stop signed intersections, amber traffic lights, controlled and uncontrolled intersections, and right of way. So these are the skills, abilities, and techniques that you have. And one point about left-hand turns, I always tell students to stop with the front steer tires on the foremost crosswalk line. That way you're committed to the intersection, but you're not in the intersection. The other school of thought is that you move right up and get into the intersection, and I don't agree with that, because if you're in the intersection and something goes wrong, you're going to be in a crash. Whereas if you have your front steer tires on the front crosswalk line, it's less likely that you're going to be involved in a crash, and you're going to protect yourself. Now what happens is as you're sitting there waiting for traffic to come, you're looking for the gap, When you see the gap and see it coming, you start to move forward into the intersection and hit that gap, and on a left-hand turn, then you have a bit of forward momentum and you can make the turn more quickly, because remember, left-hand turns are the most dangerous because you're turning across oncoming traffic. So that's the other piece about left-hand turns. We already talked about practice road tests. Make sure you do this if you're not already taking driving lessons with a school and they're inexpensive. If you take one with Sam at Rookie Auto Driving School there in the Bronx, they're only about $20. So book one of those, and it will boost your confidence. The driving instructor will give you feedback about your abilities, anything that you need to strengthen in terms of the road test, and will give you the nuances and intricate details about the road test at the test center where you're going to be taking it, okay? So that's what you need to do for the purposes of your road test. On road test day, get a good night's sleep, eat your breakfast, bring your documentation, glasses, and money, because most of these road tests cost money. If you're going to back into the park, some you have to go in and check in, some you don't. You just park and the examiner comes out, but back into the stall unless signs tell you otherwise, okay? And then again, if you make a mistake, keep going. Just take a breath and keep going until the examiner tells you to stop, because the examiner may not, he or she may not have seen the mistake that you just thought you made. So carry on with what you're doing and carry on until the examiner tells you to stop, and then he or she will give you a debrief and tell you whether you were passed. So good luck on your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. And we'll just head back over here. There we go. All right, and we'll answer some questions here. Any questions anybody has on passing a road test. All right, so Corey's got all the videos up here. That's excellent. Thank you so much for that, Corey, doing that. So Jonathan is here. Harry is here. Edgar's here. Excellent. Merlin. Solomon, sorry, my apologies. Well, driving a truck, is there allowed music, DVD, something? If you're like, are you working driving a truck, Solomon? If that's what you're doing, then yeah, absolutely, you can listen to music and those things. AG, hello, how are you? Excellent. Miss Sharon is here. Excellent. Umer, thanks for uploading new videos in live chat. I learned sharing information about driving. Excellent. So that's really great. So lots of great information there. Lots of great videos that Corey's got up for you that you can have a look at for the purposes of passing your road test. All of that will help you out and help you to be successful on passing your road test. And I come back to this again, that if you are not taking driving lessons, make sure that you book a practice driving test with a local driving school. Just call them up within 3 weeks of your road 3 weeks from your road test, and then say to them, listen, I want to book a practice road test 7 to 10 days. So if your road test is on the 20th, you want to book it on the 10th or the 13th. That way you can take a practice driving test. You can get in the car with somebody that you don't know, and they'll give you feedback. They'll take you around the driving test center. They'll give you specific information about where school signs are, where school zones are, where playground signs are, and those types of things. And they give you specific feedback, and they'll say, listen, you're driving a little bit slow when you're turning corners. You need to speed up a little bit on your corners, or you need to practice those. You need to be a bit more aggressive on your signaling. You need to make sure that you signal approximately half a block before your turns and those types of things. So they'll give you specific feedback about your road test and your skills, abilities, and knowledge for the purposes of passing a road test, and let you know whether you need to do that or not. And the reason that I advocate this and I counsel you to do this again and again is because if you go to a road test and you're not ready, it's better to find out from somebody that you just paid money to who isn't invested in you getting a license, because then that way you can either postpone your road test, or you can work really hard leading up to your road test, and you can be sure that you're going to pass it. Because if you fail, it takes a long time to rebuild your confidence and then take that test again. So it's really tough on you, and it's just a safety measure in place to make sure that you're going to be successful on your road test. So that's why I counsel you to do that again and again. Okay, Boston. On a road test, if you're making a left turn and it turns yellow, but a car in the oncoming direction is running the yellow light and you're forced to turn on a red, is that a fail? Okay, Boston, it's not going to be. So normally what's going to happen, Boston, is that you're not going to be in the intersection. So you're going to be sitting there waiting, and you're looking for the gap, and you know that it's turned yellow because you're kind of watching a whole bunch of things at the same time. Now, if you see that the traffic's not coming to a stop and you're sitting there with your steer tires on the front crosswalk line, it's better to not enter the intersection, not physically be in the intersection. Yes, you're going to be blocking the pedestrians, but you're not going to be in the intersection. And I would say that you just wait there until you can actually get till the next light. The other thing is that if you did move up anticipating that the traffic is going to come to a stop, you should not fail for that. The problem with saying that is that if you do that, you move up and then you misjudged it and the traffic didn't in fact stop and you make to left on a red turn, that is a highly discretionary thing for the purposes of a driving examiner, and at that juncture it's going to be up to the driving examiner about whether you pass or fail. I cannot give you a hard yes or no on that about whether you're going to pass a road test. And if Sam is still here, Sam might want to weigh in on that as well. Also, know that the chances of that really happening on a road test are going to be unlikely. So, you know, it's not something that I would lose a whole lot of sleep about. Okay. All right. Ramesh, some tips for parallel parking, please. Okay, we've got the videos on parallel parking. I'll go over that for you quickly. Parallel parking, the space that you're going to parallel park into has to be 1.5 lengths of your vehicle. You pull up, you want to be approximately 3 feet from the car that you're going to parallel park off. You can line up the mirrors, or you want to line up the rear of the vehicles. And the way that you line up the rear is to look out the back window on the passenger side, and you should be able to see the back corner of the vehicle that you're pulling off. So you came up, you put your signal on approximately half a block from where you were going to parallel park, immediately put the vehicle into reverse, turn your wheel all the way to the right, and before you start backing up, 360-degree scan, pick out your 45-degree mark, back up until you're facing directly on that 45 mark, straighten your wheels out, come back down until you're halfway to a third down the hood, and then turn your wheels all the way to the left, come into the space, and then back up until you're directly in line with the vehicle in front of you, straighten your wheels out, and then pull forward and adjust a little bit, and that's how you parallel park. And step-by-step instructions will go over that video for you on the parallel park video, so have a look at that. Connor, I've been driving every day and practicing every day. Do you think I'll be okay on my road test? Yes, Connor, I think that you'll be okay on your road test. The one thing, again, if you're not taking driving lessons, Connor, I would really encourage you to take a practice driving test with a local driving instructor, and he or she will be able to give you specific feedback about whether you're going to be ready for your road test at the driving center where you're going to be taking your actual test, okay? Let's see, who else? I got everybody else. All right, Ramesh, you're most welcome. We're glad we can help out. Jaden, I'm playing police simulator on roll like a real police officer on patrol. No speaking of which, I'm going to be possible robbery or a gun call. So you may have to take off, Jaden. That's excellent that you're doing that. And catching the live stream here. That's great. All of that. Excellent. Let's see who else. Okay. Legend. I hit a squirrel during my road test but still managed to pass. Yes, and that's an excellent point about small animals on the road test, or when you're driving. Sometimes it's better just to run over them than it is to try and actually avoid them and swerve, because you could get into more trouble swerving than actually running over a small animal. So I do suggest that you consider running over small animals as opposed to try and, you know, swerve and run into something else and cause yourself more damage and perhaps, you know, run into another road user or whatnot. Okay? Yes, Cody, we hit 90,000 last week and we're on our way to 100,000. It's going to be awesome. Yes, awesome. So lots of great people here. Okay, Tommy, better to take the road test in the winter or wait until the summer? Tommy, it is better to take the road test in the winter time. And Corey, I'll put the video up for you about the mock road test in the winter time. The road test in the winter time is less exact than it is in the summertime. You don't have to, because all of the road markings, for the most part, if there's snow on the roadway, there's not going to be road markings that you're going to have to be exact with. You can just pull up, and where the sidewalk is, stop before the sidewalk for the purposes of stop signed intersections and those types of things. When you're parallel parking, you don't have to be 6 to 9 inches from the curb. You only have to get in behind the vehicle in front in which you're parking behind. And again, you don't want to dig into snowbanks and those types of things because you don't want to get stuck, because driving examiners do not like pushing cars. So my suggestion, take your road test in the wintertime. It's going to be just as easy, okay? And you know, driving examiners are going to be a bit more lenient about your skills and abilities and those types of things. So I encourage you to take your road test in the wintertime. Salvador, you are awesome. You are a very big help. I just got my permit. I live in Florida. I work for Pasco County. They're paying and training me for everything. I hope everything goes well. Thank you so much. And Salvador, you are most welcome. Congratulations on that. We're happy to hear that Pasco County's helping you out there to get your license. Is that a CDL license that you're working towards, Salvador? Just let us know there in the comments. That's really great. Corey, interesting. I have a hard time imagining an examiner dinging marks for ensuring that people are not running the light for left turns. Yeah, Corey, like I said, it's a discretionary thing in terms of left-hand turns. If you're in the intersection and the vehicles across from you are not coming to a stop and you're waiting and they finally come to a stop, it's a red light, you do have to clear the intersection. And I think, you know, most examiners, I would hazard a guess, 93% of examiners are going to not fail you for that, because you're being expedient, you're watching the traffic, you're making sure the traffic's stopping, you're being cognizant of everything that's going on, you know that the light is red, and you, as soon as the light goes red, as soon as the traffic comes to a stop and you're absolutely sure that it comes to a stop, and you execute your left turn and you clear the intersection, I think most of the time you're going to be okay. But again, it's one of those things that's discretionary on the part of an examiner, and there's, like I said, there's no hard yes or no on that. So you would hope that they wouldn't, because you're being safe, you're monitoring what's going on with the traffic in front of you. But some examiners may say, no, you were in the intersection when the light was red, and they may fail you. And unfortunately, there's little recourse against driving examiners on the calls that they make when they decide whether students pass or fail a road test because of a dangerous action. So, you know, that's why I said that. All right, okay. Carly Ann, just wanted to say I passed my road test on my first try. Thanks for your videos. I took all your advice, and thanks so much, all your videos and advice. And that is excellent, Carly Ann. We're so glad that you were able to pass your road test first time. Congratulations on that. And if you'd head over to the Smart Drive Test website and register with the 100K campaign, that would be absolutely brilliant. Salvador, yes, they're paying for your Class B. That's really great. We're happy to hear that, and you're going to do really well, Salvador, on that road test there. And there's lots of good information here. The other thing to keep in mind, Salvador, is that all of the information for Class 5 is going to apply to your Class B license. So where to stop at stop sign intersections, those types of things. So you're going to do really well, and you're going to pass your road test. It's going to be great. Boston, you should become an ICBC driving test examiner. Boston, no, no, we're not gonna become a driving examiner. I have much more fun doing my YouTube channel and being a driving instructor, because I can do all classes of license, which I really enjoy. So, railway crossing suggestions or tips? Yes. Kangaroo Trucker, really good question there. And I'll tell you a story about railway crossings. Cody says we almost have the same shirt. That's great. Okay, so tell you a story about railway crossings. So it was 2014, so I guess it was 5 years now, when I came to the Okanagan Valley, and the driving school that I was working for at the time sent me up to Kamloops. Well, pretty much up until that time, I guess, you know, trains and railway crossings had pretty much fallen off my radar, because I really hadn't been around trains. I was on Vancouver Island, they'd ripped up all the tracks. I'd been in Australia, they'd ripped up all the tracks. But Kamloops is the railhead for Canadian National Railway here in Canada. And I was up there, and there's a big rail line that goes through there, and where the driving school was located was right beside the railway line. And so we're in a tractor trailer, and you have to go across the railway tracks and then make a left-hand turn out onto the roadway, because most of the time we were going to go left. We weren't going to go into town. And so the student comes up there. It's a red light. And so we wait behind the tracks where we're supposed to, and then the light turned green, and the student went up and went across the railway tracks, but couldn't get up because there was traffic in front of him that was also turning left. And so we ended up sitting on the railway tracks in Kamloops. And for anybody who's been to Kamloops, British Columbia here, knows that there's a lot of trains that go through there on multi-tracks. And then the light changed, and the student didn't go. I was to find out later, when I talked to other driving instructors about the danger of this, that the student should have gone, should have pushed through the intersection rather than sitting on the railway crossings. But let me tell you, it was some very tense couple of minutes waiting for the light to change, with the 53-foot van trailer hanging out over the railway tracks, not knowing when the next train was going to come. And this is one of the things that makes train crossings dangerous is because most trains, most freight trains, do not keep schedules. Passenger trains do keep schedules, but most freight trains don't keep schedules, and this is why they're so dangerous. So when you're driving a commercial vehicle, school buses do have to stop for most rail crossings and open the door and check them. If you're driving a passenger vehicle or you're driving other types of CDL vehicles, you simply have to scan the railway crossing and make sure that there isn't a train coming. If there is a train coming, the lights and bells are flashing and the gates are down, then you have to stop minimum 15 feet from the nearest rail or 5 meters. 5 meters? Yeah, 15 feet or 5 meters from the rail crossing, and wait until the gates go up and those types of things, and then you can proceed. Okay, so that's essentially what it is for a railway crossing. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward about where you have to stop. And most of them will have stop lines as well about where you're going to stop. But know that for the purposes of a road test, it's 5 meters or 15 feet from the railway crossing. Okay? Tommy, would a driving examiner let you drive your car if it has a crack on the windshield? Tommy, the crack on the windshield is going to depend on whether it obstructs your vision or not. If it does, then I would strongly encourage you, if you're going to take that vehicle for a road test, to take it to a glass shop and get them to fix it, or to tell you whether it's safe or not, because they'll be able to give you the best information about that. Corey, on the other hand, it's true. I did have an instructor claim that once the light goes yellow for left, you go. I was taken aback at the claim, as it's obviously flawed safety-wise. And yes, Corey, it is flawed safety-wise, because you can't go unless that traffic coming from the other direction is that you ensure that it's coming to a stop first, because you don't want to get T-boned because somebody's running the red light. And actually, there's a video here on that as well, Corey. So no, that information is definitely flawed. Frederick, my road test, I wait behind a truck on a red at a 2-lane junction. Didn't make it at green. The truck was the cause slow. Should have chosen the second lane left of the truck, the examiner told me. It depends, Frederick. If you're turning left and there's 2 turn lanes, you definitely you want to be in the outside turning lane, the right lane. That way when you get around the corner, you're going to be in the outside lane and you won't have to make a lane change when you get around the corner. Now, if he said that you didn't make it because of the truck, that's just, I think that's a personal thing. I don't think that's correct information of what the examiner was saying to you. Yeah, Corey, make sure that the oncoming vehicles are coming to a stop before you commit to the left-hand turn, for sure. The railway crossing gates are no longer, and the gate motors are down, but no railroad crossing gate barriers. Do school buses still have to stop for the no railway crossing gates from Hurricane? Jaden, if there is a railway crossing, school buses have to stop, open the doors, make sure that there aren't any trains coming, and then proceed before going across. It's the same thing with CDL drivers who are hauling dangerous goods. They have to stop at railway crossings before proceeding across the railway. So that's how you do that. Okay, and there's the left-hand turn on making sure that oncoming traffic is coming to a stop before you commit. Emil, can I hire you to teach me how to drive? Unfortunately, no, Emil, because I'm in Vernon, British Columbia, and I do very little in vehicle driving now. So, but we can help to find you a good driving instructor, so we can do that as well. So just let us know where in the world you're working towards your driving license, and we'll help you with that for sure. Okay, I'll tell you one other story about railway crossings in a tractor trailer. I was in the south, and I believe I was in Arkansas. Yeah, I was in Arkansas. And I was in Arkansas, and I'm on 2-lane skinny. I was on this 2-lane skinny going to this place in a big truck, 53-foot trailer. I've got a road tractor on, and we kind of weave through this little town, and we come out the other end of town, and there's a white clapboard convenience store. And I remember this as clear as day. This white clapboard with a veranda on the front. It's got the orange crush sign with the thermometer on the front veranda and whatnot, and there's 3 or 4 good old boys out on the front of the veranda, and they're kind of looking at me as I'm driving by, because I'm not driving very fast through town. I'm only driving, 20 miles an hour or something. And they give me this look as I go through town, and I didn't really understand what the look was as I'm coming through town. But we kind of weave through town, and we start going down a hill as we come out the other side of town. And we end up going down a hill, and I looked down the road. And it was too late at this point, because I was still sort of fixated on the white clapboard convenience store with the guy standing out in front of it. And I just a friend of mine was with me at the time, and I put my hand on her shoulder, and I just said to her, hang on. What happened is as we were coming down the hill, like this, they had put a set of railway tracks in, but they had not changed the hill, the configuration of the hill. So it was basically, this was the road, this was the railway crossing, and then the hill continued. So we come down in the truck like this, and it basically launched the truck. The truck came off the road. I had a cooler between the seats, and the cooler between the seats came off the floor, hit the ceiling of the truck, and then slammed back down on the floor. So we basically took a semi-truck and launched it. And I was thinking as we kind of regrouped after that and got the truck back on the road, that these good old boys just used to sit out in front of the clapboard, and they used to watch trucks go by and would be laughing as they knew that they hit that railway crossing, that semi-truck was going to go into the air and launch. So there's my other railway crossing sign, that some of these railway crossings on the side of hills are not designed, you know, they're not engineered for large vehicles to be going over them very, very quickly. Okay? Emil, you're in Vancouver. Yes, unfortunately I can't help you out, Emil, but I certainly can help you out to find a driving school down there in Vancouver and be successful on your road test. Jaden, what I meant by my comment was, if there were no railway crossing gates from a hurricane, the gate mechanisms are down. Do school buses still have to stop when there's no gates? Yes, even if the gates have been ripped off by the hurricane, Jaden, school buses still have to stop for that railway crossing. They have to make sure that there isn't a train coming. It's for the safety of the passengers and the kids on the bus, okay? Frederick, I did pass the exam. We were going straight over the junction. I just wasn't thinking very logically in that situation. Oh, I see. Oh, but that's really great that you did, in fact, pass, okay? So, Cody, yes, Superman truck. It was definitely a Superman truck. So, Kyle is here, and Kyle, and this was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So we've had, you know, because we've had a cold spell on the prairies and in the Midwest in the U.S., and I wanted to talk about cold starts. And, you know, I knew it was going to be one of those videos, one of those topics that people were just like, okay, you know, maybe that's some good information. And then other people were like, you're a dummy. You're just stupid. I mean, who would start up their car in -30 weather and then just drive off? Well, I do now. I didn't used to, but I do now because of fuel injection, and I've read numerous scores and scores of owner's manuals as well as driving instruction manuals and those types of things, and they tell you that you don't need to warm up your car anymore. And people are saying to me, well, I just let it warm up until the temperature gauge starts to come up. Well, that's great, okay, and you can do that. And like I say, you know, in the cold start video, by the time you start the vehicle up and you get the snow brushed off the vehicle and that types of thing, you know, it's going to take you 5 minutes to do that. There's enough, the engine has been running long enough at that point that you can drive it moderately. Now, the other thing that I wanted to elaborate on the cold start video is there's a lot of other components in the car that aren't going to heat up until you start driving it. For example, the transmission, the rear axle, because there's gears in the rear axle and there's oil in there. All the bearings in the wheels, the turning mechanism, and all of those other pieces in there are not going to heat up until you actually start driving the car and start generating some friction and some forward motion. So know that even when it's -30, if you let the vehicle run for a couple of minutes and then start to drive it and drive it moderately, the whole vehicle is going to heat up much faster than if you just let it sit there in your driveway, because when you let it sit there in your driveway, all those other components don't heat up. The engine, just the engine heats up. The transmission doesn't heat up. The rear axle doesn't heat up. The wheel bearings don't heat up. The steering mechanism, nothing else heats up in the vehicle, just the motor. So until you actually start to drive the vehicle, nothing else is going to warm up. So it's better overall to get in the vehicle, let it run for a couple of minutes, get the oil pressure up. The other question I've had about oil pressures is that yes, it's cold, but when you put oil in a vehicle, you'll see that it says 5W30, okay? 5W30. The 5W stands for 5 winter time. So when it's cold, the oil is actually designed that it's more viscous, so it's not as thick, so it will actually push through the engine, because if you got really cold, thick molasses type syrup motor oil in there, yes, it starts to blow gaskets and those types of things, and that's why it's called 5W30 as opposed to just 30 oil, 30 weight oil. and it's designed for cold weather starts and those types of things. Now Kyle's here. The other thing that I asked Kyle asked me this week about frost on the inside of the windshield of your car. And yes, you're going to get frost. If you've got a lot of moisture inside of your vehicle, you're going to get frost on the inside of the windshield in your cars. And it's a pain in the butt, let me tell you. From personal experience, you need one of those little short scrapers and you can scrape the windshield off. The reason that you get a lot of moisture in the vehicle, one is that you track snow into the car and it gets on the mats and those types of things. And when the car warms up, it becomes moisture inside the air in the vehicle. And then when you park your vehicle and it gets cold again, all of that freezes and condenses on the hot window, and the cold window rather. A couple of things you can do to prevent that and getting frost on the inside of the windshield is try and minimize the amount of snow that you get in the vehicle. You know, there's moisture in our breath. We can exhale up to 1 liter of moisture per night, so know that as well. One of the things you can do is try and keep the window down a crack when you park your vehicle. So if you just put it down a little bit, that will allow some of the moisture to escape. Also think about where your vehicle is parked. My vehicle, where it's parked every day, I get up in the morning and the passenger side of the vehicle, the windows are all clear, but on the driver's side, they're all frosted over. So think about where your vehicle is parked as well, and that'll help to prevent some of the frost that you get on the inside of the windows and those types of things. So those are a couple of things that you can think about to try and prevent frost on the inside of the windshields of your vehicles, because it's a real pain in the butt, and you do have to try and get the vehicle warmed up to be able to get some defrost heat so you can get that frost off on the inside, because otherwise you got to scrape it, you know, with a credit card or a short scraper or those types of things, and you get that frost and moisture all over the dash and whatnot. So there you go. Sam, there's my friend Sam. Sam is doing laundry. Excellent. So Sam, one of the questions we were asking previously was about left-hand turns. You end up in the intersection, but the traffic on the other side hasn't come to a stop yet. Will driving examiners fail you if you make the left on the red while you're waiting for the traffic to stop on the other side? So that was the question that we had previously. Cody, can you fail a road test for not going on a green immediately, or if there's a buffer? Sometimes I forget. Cody, you won't fail, but you do want to kind of be on the ball while you're driving, and if you're the first one in the line or in the queue and the light turns green, you want to go as quickly as possible. Jaden, I was confused when I was still in school when I saw that happen. Yes, okay, excellent. Okay, Chad, at what speed should I drive on an icy road without my instructor telling me that I'm insecure on the road? It depends what the road is, how far you are away from main roads and those types of things, Chad. Know that the farther you get away from main roads and whatnot, the slower you're going to have to go, because the less clear the roads are going to be, okay? They're going to be better salted and sanded and plowed and those types of things on major roads and whatnot. Okay, Cody, your computer's going to shut off? Okay, if we caught up to you, then have a good night. Okay, all the best. Jaden, I forgot to tell you, I found a YouTube video where I can fix my taillight, my turn signals, and how to clean my headlights. Excellent. All of that's great. We're glad you're working on the car there, Jaden. And Kyle, you're most welcome there. So, yeah, so we're running down at the bottom of the hour here, just see if there's anything else I got that I want to talk to you about. So, yes, cold starts. So that's what I was talking about in terms of cold starts. Some people just are not on board with cold starts and those types of things. But now that we have fuel injection motors and those types of things, it's just not, you just don't need to, I mean, beyond creature comfort, they don't need to sit there and idle for a long period of time, because the only component of the vehicle that you're actually heating up is just the motor. The rest of the components of the vehicle do not heat up while it's sitting there running. You're going to get a little bit heat out to the transmission, but until you actually just start driving it and start moving it and creating friction and motion in the vehicle, the transmission, the rear end, the axles, those types of things are not going to heat up. And I know this from personal experience about driving diesel trucks in the wintertime, and when you plug them in and turn them on, let me tell you, for the first half hour, shifting those things is like trying to get a bull to move in the middle of winter, because there's the transmission, the oil and the transmission and the gears and everything else is all frozen and really cold, and it's tough to shift. It's very difficult, and it takes a while to get that going. Okay? Emil, do you have one-on-one chat sessions? I got tons of questions. Okay, Emil, one of the things you can do is you can contact me on Magnifi. It's an app on the mobile phone, and it is, yes, I will have one-on-one chat sessions. It is paid, but you can contact me that way, okay? Okay, Hudson, I'm paranoid that my driving examiner will fail me just because. No, Hudson, your driving examiners will not fail you just because. They have to have a reason. And if you practice, 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 and you do everything you can to be prepared for your road test, and everything you need to do to pass a road test first time is here on the channel, all of that will help you be successful. So do your practicing, do your work, book a mock road test, a practice driving test with a local driving examiner, and you're going to be fine and you're going to pass, okay? Sam, no, if you're already in the center of the road, no, they will not fail you, if I understood the question right. Yes, I think you did understand the question right, Sam. We were having a discussion about left-hand turns, whether you get caught in the intersection and the light turns yellow, but the oncoming traffic hasn't come to a stop. By the time you determine that the oncoming traffic, in fact, has come to a stop, the light has gone red, and then once the traffic comes to a stop and it's safe to make your left-hand turn, then you immediately execute the left-hand turn. That's what we're talking about. I think you and I are on the same page about that. Okay, Hudson, fair enough. Thanks. You're going to do great, Hudson. I know that it's tough. I know there's a lot of anticipation and angst about passing a road test. There's also a fear and anxiety video here on the channel. It gives you 8 tips for passing a road test. It's fairly lengthy, but the topics, look down in the description there and you can see the different topics that I talk about and things that you can practice. And remember the 4 most powerful words in the English language. I can do this, okay? I've been doing this myself lately because I'm trying to get back making videos, but you can do it. You're going to be great, okay? There you go. Okay, Philly, I'm intimidated to drive 53 foot in large city. What is the market for Class B? Philly, you should be intimidated driving a 53 foot trailer in a large city, but you can do it and you're going to be great. And I would say to you that when you lose that, when you're no longer fearful about driving a 53 foot trailer in a city in a large urban area, that's when you shouldn't be doing it anymore. Because you should always be on edge when you're driving a 53 foot trailer with a tractor on the front of it and you're out a 75 foot vehicle, because there's a lot of things that you need to be looking at and considering and figuring out while you're driving a large vehicle through an urban center. And when you lose that kind of on edge thing, I personally would say that you shouldn't be doing anywhere. You should always be kind of on edge and have that kind of awareness about driving a 53 foot trailer. So yes, get your tractor trailer license and you can do that. And I'll make one point about getting a tractor trailer license for those of you who are considering getting a commercial license. Yes, you can get a lower class license, but say for example that you go to work for a company that has dump trucks, okay? And you only need a Class B license or a Class D license as it is in Ontario, excuse me, a Class 3 license as it is here in British Columbia. But that company only hires Class 1. They only hire tractor trailer drivers because they've got 3 trucks that haul pups, three dump trucks that have trailers on them. As soon as you put a trailer on a dump truck, it's now a Class 1 vehicle and you need a Class 1 license. So what happens is that one day that Tom decides that he's sick, he's not going to come into work. So the dispatch starts going through the list of other drivers that he or she can get to come into work. They're not going to go down the list and go, well, Joe can't drive and Phil can't drive and Pete can't drive and Sheila can't drive because they all have Class 3 licenses. They're just going to hire everybody with a Class 1 license, and then that way if that driver is sick, they're going to put a Class 1 license on it. So if you are unsuccessful in getting a job with a tractor trailer license, you can simply walk across the road and start working again tomorrow. It's going to be a lot easier for you. So if you're considering getting a CDL license, I would really encourage you to get a tractor trailer license as well. In most states, you can get an endorsement for a bus license, and here in Ontario and Canada, the province of Ontario, the province of British Columbia, other places, you're also given that bus license. So if you get a tractor trailer license, it's very easy to get your bus license as well, and you're going to spend a little bit more money, a little bit more time, but your return on investment is going to be much, much higher. You're going to be so much more employable, and you're going to get that money back within a few months. So that's my encouragement of getting you to work towards actually getting a tractor trailer license. All right, okay, Cody, it's back on. I consider myself a safe driver, but I never considered myself a good driver. I think that's a good mentality. Yes, that's a good mentality, but you know, I think a lot of times good drivers, Cody, are people who are here listening to me, engaging in the dialogue, talking about driving and those types of things. All of that helps you out and helps you to make a better, to be a more professional driver, because that's essentially the definition of being a smart driver, being a professional driver, is working to improve your skills and whatnot. Okay? Philly, listen, people throw doors out, they cut you off on purpose, they treat truckers like poop. Philly, that was never my experience when I was driving truck. I always found that people were pretty good about that, you know, and of course you're communicating well with them by using your signals and those types of things. I think a lot of that is unfortunately some of the, what I like to call super truckers in the industry, who are like, look at what that car did, and they got their dash cams out, and it's like, what were you doing? Because I watched some of this dash cam videos, and I think to myself, what was the truck driver doing? How did you not see that? Where were you looking? Okay, so that hasn't been my experience. Ryan, getting Class 1 license here in Saskatchewan is getting stricter. Yes, cause of the Humboldt crash. Yes, and I think that's going to be true for all of the prairie provinces, Ryan, that it is going to be tougher to get a Class 1 license. Emil, yes, I can put the mobile apps there for you below. Actually, what I'll do, Emil, is I'll put the link up in the comments on the YouTube channel here. I'll do that because we're just winding down to the end of the hour here. So I'm going to just wind up here, and I'll put that the mobile apps there, and you can get in touch with me that way, and anybody else, any other smart drivers who want to get in touch with me one-on-one, the Magnifi app, and you can contact me that way for one-on-one questions and answers. All right, so we're going to wind up here. Congratulations to everybody who's passed a road test in the last week. Thank you very much for showing up today and engaging and asking questions and talking with me about driving and passing a road test. And if you have a road test coming up in the next week or so, good luck on that. Make sure you book a practice driving test if you're not taking driving lessons with your local driving school, and they'll be able to help you out with that. And Cody, yes, exactly, Cody. I like that, what Cody just said. It's anything that we're doing in life, it's about improvement. It's about being better. It's never about perfection, because perfection is an unattainable goal. So that's really great. Philly, was I ever at the food center? No, I can't say I was ever at the food center in Philadelphia. They're just there a couple of times. All right, so if you have a road test coming up this week, good luck with that. Congratulations. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.